I discovered that my family spent a fortune on my sister's wedding while pressuring me to get married in the backyard. I had a fake wedding and got married for real on the same day without them knowing. My name is Marina, I'm 29 years old, and throughout my life I've been the invisible daughter. The one parents introduce with a tired smile and a ready excuse. She's always been more independent. You know how it is. No. I wasn't independent. I was trained to be convenient. Before I start telling my story, tell me where you're watching this video from. Come on. My younger sister, Isabella, was only 2 years younger than me, but could have decades of advantage by the way my parents treated her. Isa was the princess, the sensitive one, the one who needed constant attention, endless validation, and all the resources my parents could gather. Me? I was mature for my age, the compliment every neglected child receives as consolation. I grew up wearing patched school uniforms while Isabella debuted new looks every semester. I spent summers working at snack bars to pay for my own driver's license while she got a used car for her 18th birthday. I paid for college with scholarships, student loans, and night shifts as a waitress, while my parents helped Isabella with tuition, housing, and even a generous allowance. And I smiled. Always smiled. Because that's what good daughters did, right? I met Diego when I was 23, at my first real job after college. He worked in the IT department, had a crooked smile that completely disarmed me, and infinite patience to listen to me talk about my endless days. We started as friends. Then something more. Diego saw me. Really saw me. Not the convenient version of myself I presented to my family, but the complete woman, with anger, ambitions, fears, and dreams I had learned to bury deep. When he proposed to me, after 5 years together, I cried so much he got scared. It wasn't just joy. It was relief. Someone had finally chosen me first. The proposal was simple. He prepared dinner on the balcony of our tiny apartment, with cheap candles that melted too fast and a playlist of songs that marked our relationship. When he knelt with the ring he had saved for months to buy, I didn't even let him finish the question before saying yes. I called my parents the next day radiant. For the first time in years, I wanted to share something genuinely happy with them. The reaction was lukewarm. Marriage? My mother repeated, as if I had announced a terminal illness. Wow, Marina, that's very fast, don't you think? Mom, we've been together for 5 years. Yes, but marriage is expensive, daughter. She made that significant pause I knew well. Have you thought about how much this will cost? My father joined the conversation. What your mother is trying to say is that we're in a delicate financial situation now. We can't afford anything too elaborate. I swallowed the disappointment. We're not asking you to pay for everything. We just wanted to share the news. Great. My mother cut me off with audible relief in her voice. Because we really can't afford it. How about something simple? Something intimate? I can make some snacks, your father fixes up the backyard. We can use those Christmas lights that still work. It'll be charming. Charming. That word burned. You want me to get married in the backyard? Why not? My father sounded genuinely confused. Saves on venue rental, decoration, all that expensive stuff. And being honest, Marina, you were never really one for fuss anyway, were you? It wasn't fuss. It was my wedding. But I said, I'll talk to Diego and we'll see. I hung up before they could hear my voice break. Diego was furious when I told him. They can't be serious. Christmas lights? Snacks. They said they don't have money, I mumbled, already finding excuses for them. It was a conditioned reflex. Then we'll do something small on our own, Diego said, taking my hand. It doesn't need to be extravagant. It just needs to be ours. I agreed. And I tried not to think about the wedding I had dreamed of as a child. The dress, the flowers, the party with people who loved me. I tried not to feel pathetic for still wanting these things at 29 years old. In the following weeks, every time I mentioned any wedding detail, my parents had an objection ready. Photographer? The neighbor's son has a good camera. I'm sure he'll take some photos for free. DJ? Spotify Premium, daughter. No one will notice the difference. Buffet? We can do a potluck with the guests. Everyone brings a dish. Dress? There's that thrift store downtown that sells well-preserved white dresses. Each suggestion came wrapped in fake concern, but I heard the subtext. You're not worth the investment. Don't be demanding. Be grateful for the basics. The worst part was when I asked to confirm if we could at least use their backyard. Of course. My mother said this as if she were doing an immense favor. But you'll have to take care of the cleanup afterward, okay? And we can't hire anyone to fix up the garden beforehand. Your father is too busy. Busy. With what? I didn't know, but I didn't question it. Diego and I started making plans within the absurd limitations. We researched DIY decorations. Asked friends for help. My best friend Laura offered to make the cake. Another friend said he could lend speakers. We were building something from nothing, and part of me even found it beautiful. Even romantic. It was us against the world, creating our own magic. Then Isabella got engaged. The news exploded in the family group like digital fireworks. Photos of the proposal flooded the chat. Isabella radiant on a yacht, champagne being popped, boyfriend Rodrigo kneeling with a velvet box containing a ring that probably cost more than my car. The messages didn't stop. My mother, my princess is getting married. 2 hearts, 2 hearts, 2 hearts. My father, couldn't be prouder. Clinking glasses. Aunts, cousins, grandparents, everyone celebrating as if it were the event of this century. I sent a polite, congrats, red heart, and put my phone aside. Diego noticed my expression. Are you okay? Yes, just. It's a lot of excitement. It wasn't envy. Not entirely. It was something deeper. It was the painful recognition that I would never receive that same genuine joy from them, no matter what I did. The following week, I called my mother to talk about some details of our wedding. Simple flowers I wanted to order, nothing expensive. She barely listened to me. Marina, I can barely think about anything other than Isa's wedding. You won't believe it, she found the perfect place. A beautiful vineyard, with mountain views. It's jaw-dropping. My stomach tightened. Vineyard? Wow, that must be expensive. It is. But she deserves it, doesn't she? My little girl getting married. She sighed dramatically. We're helping with what we can, of course. We can't let her be stressed about money at such a special time. I stayed silent. Mom, you said you couldn't afford it. That's why my wedding is in the backyard. Oh, Marina. Her tone changed, became impatient. They're different situations. Isa is planning something traditional, formal. You yourself said you wanted something intimate and laid back. I never said that. I accepted it. And besides, she continued, you both have stable jobs. Isa is still finishing grad school. She needs more help now. I hung up feeling nauseated. Diego found me crying in the bathroom an hour later. I told him everything. He didn't try to calm me with empty words. He just held me while I finally admitted out loud what I always knew. My parents never saw me as a priority. We don't need them, Diego whispered. We'll do this alone. And it'll be beautiful anyway. I wanted to believe it. But something inside me had cracked, and I didn't know how to fix it. I kept smiling. Kept planning the backyard wedding. Kept pretending everything was fine. Until I discovered the truth. And then, everything changed. The discovery happened by accident. Or maybe the universe finally decided I deserved to know the truth. I was at my parents' house picking up some old boxes with decorations my mother had promised to lend for the wedding. She wasn't home, but had left the door unlocked for me. My father was in the office, probably watching some game. The boxes were in the guest room closet, where Isabella kept some things since she moved to a smaller apartment. While rummaging through the dusty boxes, I accidentally knocked down a pile of papers that were on top of the dresser. When I bent down to pick them up, an open envelope caught my attention. It was from a luxury travel agency. Curiosity beat good sense, and I read. Reservation confirmation, premium honeymoon package, Italy. Duration, 14 days. Includes business class airfare, 5-star hotels, Florence, Rome, Venice, Amalfi Coast, private transfers, guided tours, dinners at award-winning restaurants. Total amount, 47,850 Brazilian reals. Payment confirmed via credit card ending in 4829. My vision blurred. 47,000 reais. On a honeymoon. For Isabella. I took a deep breath, trying to find a reasonable explanation. Maybe Rodrigo had paid. Maybe it was a gift from his parents. Maybe. I kept leafing through the papers. I found contracts. All in my parents' names. Elegance Buffet 28,500 Brazilian reals. Premium floral decoration. 12,800 Brazilian reals. Photographer and videographer, 15,000 Brazilian reals. Live band, 9,500 Brazilian reals. Vineyard rental, 18,000 Brazilian reals. Personalized invitations, 3,200 Brazilian reals. The list continued. Wedding dress, 8,500 Brazilian reals. Professional makeup artist, 2,800 Brazilian reals. Premium open bar, 16,000 Brazilian reals. I did the quick mental calculation. Easily over 150,000 reais. My hands trembled holding the papers. My parents didn't have money. They had told me that. They had convinced me that a decent wedding was beyond their means. And here was proof that it was a lie. It wasn't lack of money. It was lack of will. Or worse, it was that I simply wasn't worth the investment to them. I took photos of each document with shaking hands. I didn't know yet what I would do with it, but I needed to have proof. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy, that the difference in treatment wasn't just in my head. I put everything back exactly as it was and went downstairs with the boxes of cheap decoration my mother had set aside. Broken twinkle lights and faded Christmas ornaments. While Isabella would have fresh flowers worth almost 13,000 reis. My father appeared in the living room. Did you find what you needed? I looked at him. This man who raised me, who taught me to ride a bike, who was once my hero, and felt something cold and definitive settling in my chest. Yes, I lied. Thank you. I drove home on autopilot. When I arrived, Diego was making dinner, humming some cheesy song. His normalcy, his lightness, made something inside me shatter. Love, you won't believe, he started, excited, but stopped when he saw me. What happened? I showed him the photos on my phone. In silence. One after another. I watched his expression change from confusion to shock, from shock to anger. When he got to the photo of the honeymoon, he pushed the phone away as if it burned. 47,000 reis, he said quietly. On a honeymoon. While we're planning to play Spotify on a borrowed speaker, I completed, my voice strangely calm. Marina. Diego pulled me into a tight hug. I didn't cry. I was beyond tears. It was a different pain, deeper. The kind of pain that comes when a truth you always knew finally takes concrete form. They lied. I murmured against his chest. Looked me in the eyes and lied. I know. They made me feel greedy for wanting a photographer. A real photographer, Diego. While they paid 15,000 for Isabella's. Diego gently pushed me back, holding my face in his hands. Listen. You're not getting married in that backyard. I know. I can't anymore. No, he interrupted me with a determination I rarely saw in him. You didn't understand. You're not getting married in that backyard. We're going to have a real wedding. Our way. And they won't even be invited. I blinked, processing. How are we going to? I have savings. You have savings. We pool them. Do something beautiful but within what we can afford. It doesn't need to be extravagant. It just needs to be real. He held my hands. And your parents can't be there. Not after this. The idea was radical. Liberating. Terrifying. They'll know we found out, I said slowly. So what? Marina, they don't deserve to be at your day. Not after making you feel like this. Part of me wanted to agree immediately. But another part, the part that had been trained for 29 years to keep the peace, to be the convenient daughter, hesitated. Can I think about it? I asked quietly. Diego nodded, but I saw the frustration in his eyes. He didn't understand why I still protected people who clearly didn't care about me. Honestly, I didn't fully understand either. In the following days, I kept acting normally. I answered my mother's messages about the backyard wedding. I smiled when she showed me photos of the snacks she was planning to make. I nodded when my father explained he couldn't mow the lawn beforehand because the mower was broken and fixing it was expensive. Each interaction was torture. Because now I knew. Every "we can't afford it" was a direct lie. Every humiliating suggestion was a deliberate choice to make me feel small. But I observed. Collected information. And slowly, a plan began to form in my head. It wouldn't just be an alternative wedding. It would be a statement. The turning point happened on a Sunday afternoon, during a family lunch. Isabella was there, radiant, monopolizing the conversation as always. She was showing fabric samples for the bridesmaids' dresses, talking about menu tasting, debating between white or lilac orchids. My mother was ecstatic, giving opinions on every detail. My father nodded and smiled, clearly proud to provide all of that for his little princess. And you, Marina? Isabella finally turned to me, as if she had just noticed my presence. How are the preparations going? All eyes turned to me. Good, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. Simple, but it'll be beautiful. Oh, I think a backyard wedding is so charming. Isabella cooed, with that condescension she mastered. Like very rustic and authentic. Very you. My mother laughed. It's true. Marina has always been more down to earth. Never one for fuss. Not one for fuss. It was code for "you don't deserve more." Actually, Isabella continued, oblivious, I wanted to ask you a favor. Here it came. Rodrigo needs one more groomsman at the last minute. His cousin canceled. I thought maybe Diego could fill in. That way you wouldn't need to be a bridesmaid, and the number is even. It looks better in photos, you know? The silence that followed was thick. You want me not to be a bridesmaid at your wedding? I repeated, slowly, making sure I understood correctly. It's just that visually it looks weird to have an odd number, she explained as if it were obvious. And you won't mind, will you? You were never really one to be the center of attention anyway. My mother nodded. It's true, ISA is right about the aesthetics. And you'll be there anyway, Marina. It doesn't make that much difference. I looked at them, then at my father, who avoided my gaze, uncomfortable but silent as always. And something inside me finally broke. It didn't break loud, with screams and thrown plates. It broke silently, like a branch that snaps under too much weight for too long. Sure, I said, smiling. No problem, I say. Diego can be a groomsman. Isabella clapped her hands. I knew you'd understand. You're the best, sister. I finished lunch with that smile plastered on my face, laughed at the right times, asked polite questions about Isabella's buffet, hugged everyone as I left. In the car, Diego looked at me sideways. You're too calm. I am. Marina, I'm not getting married in their backyard anymore, I said finally. My voice was firm, decided, and they won't know about it until it's too late. Diego blinked. What are you planning? I looked out the window, watching my parents' house disappear in the rearview mirror. Revenge, I answered simply, but the kind they'll never forget. In the following 2 weeks, I became a consummate actress. I kept discussing details of the backyard wedding with my parents, sent messages asking about folding tables and plastic tablecloths, accepted with fake gratitude every humiliating suggestion. Meanwhile, Diego and I worked in secret. We started looking for realistic alternatives. We didn't have 150,000 reais like my parents spent on Isabella, but we had combined savings of about 40,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to do something worthy. Laura, my best friend, had contacts. I know an event coordinator who's just starting out, she said. She's talented, but needs a portfolio. Maybe she'll do a special price. The coordinator, Renata, received us in her small office. She was about 35 years old, contagious energy, and eyes that sparkled when we talked about ideas. We told the story, summarized version, without all the painful details. We just said we wanted to do something special but had a limited budget and that it would be a surprise for the family. I love a challenge, Renata said, smiling. And I love even more a wedding with purpose. Let's make it happen. She introduced us to vendors who owed favors, to places that had cheaper alternative schedules, to beginning photographers with immense talent but small portfolios. We found a farm an hour from the city. It wasn't a fancy vineyard, but it had a huge green field, old trees, and a small rustic chapel that looked straight out of a fairy tale. The owner, a retired gentleman named Mr. Alberto, was charmed by our story. My wife and I got married with nothing, he told us. They were the happiest 50 years of my life. It's not about money. It never was. He offered us the space for a third of the normal price. We hired a gourmet food truck instead of a traditional buffet. Gourmet tacos, mini burgers, fresh pasta. Cool, delicious, and half the price. Laura insisted on making the cake professionally, as a gift. 3 tiers, perfect frosting, edible flowers. You deserve it. My friend Julia, who worked with design, created beautiful invitations and printed them at a discount. Recycled paper, delicate botanical art, each one handwritten by the 2 of us during nights watching movies. We found a young photographer, Marcelo, graduated 2 years ago and trying to build a career. I looked at his portfolio. It was brilliant. Poetic. Captured real emotion. We hired him and his videographer girlfriend, Camila. The 2 of them made a combined package that fit our budget. For music, a friend of Diego's who played guitar offered to perform at the ceremony. For the party, we hired a beginning DJ who was building his name. He was incredible, excited, and honest about building his portfolio. Each piece fell into place. It wasn't easy. We had to be creative, flexible, humble. But each decision was ours. Each vendor treated us with genuine respect. And slowly, my real wedding took shape, while my parents thought I was preparing for the pathetic ceremony in their backyard. The guest list was the most liberating part. No one from your family? Diego asked, cautious. No one, I confirmed. Only people who truly love us. Who would choose to be there. We invited close friends, work colleagues who became family, mentors who believed in me. Diego's mother, who always treated me like a daughter. Distant cousins I genuinely loved but rarely saw at gatherings dominated by Isabella. 35 people. Small compared to Isabella's 150 guests. But every name on that list meant something. I bought my dress at a boutique that sold pieces by independent designers. It wasn't a famous brand. It didn't cost 8,000 reis like Isabella's. It cost 3,000, and it was the most beautiful I had ever seen. Lacy, delicate, with a backless neckline that made me feel simultaneously vulnerable and powerful. Laura cried when she saw me trying it on. Marina, you look stunning. For the first time in months, I looked at myself in the mirror and recognized the woman reflected. Not the convenient daughter. Not the invisible sister. Just me. About to marry the love of my life on my terms. I maintained the charade perfectly. My parents didn't suspect anything. I kept confirming details of the fake wedding, scheduled for a Saturday, 2 p.m., in 3 weeks. The real wedding would be on the same day. Noon. At the farm. When they were setting up folding chairs and hanging twinkling lights in the backyard, I would already be married. Guilt appeared in waves in the weeks leading up to the wedding. It wasn't guilt for deceiving them. They deserved it. It was residual guilt, programmed into me since childhood. My mother's voice echoed in my head. Marina, you've always been so dramatic. Can't you just be grateful for what you have? But then I would look at Isabella's Instagram photos. Another menu tasting. Another dress fitting. Another bachelorette party at a luxury spa. And the guilt would evaporate. Diego noticed when I got too quiet. Second thoughts, he would ask, gently, always giving me the exit if I needed it. No, I would answer. And it was true. Just processing that I'm really going to do this. We're going to do this, he corrected, intertwining his fingers with mine. 2 weeks before the big day, my mother called. My stomach tightened when I saw her name on the screen, that conditioned fear that she had somehow found out everything. Marina, I need to confirm some things about the wedding. I took a deep breath. Sure, Mom. What is it? How many people confirmed attendance? I need to know to calculate the snacks. I consulted the fake list we had created. I think about 40 people. 40? Marina, that's a lot. I thought it would be something intimate. Your other wedding has 150 guests, I thought, but said, I can reduce the list if you think it's better. No, 40 is manageable. Your father is going to borrow the folding tables from the church. You need to provide the paper towels, okay? Those on rolls, not the table ones. It's cheaper. Okay, Mom. Oh, and the cake. Mrs. Rosa from the bakery said she'll make a simple cake for 200 reis. White cake, whipped cream frosting. Nothing too elaborate, but it'll do. 200 reis. The 3-tier cake Laura was making for the real wedding cost 1,200 reis, and she was only charging me for materials, doing the work for free. Even so, it was 6 times what my mother thought I deserved. Perfect, Mom. Thank you so much. You're welcome, daughter. Oh, almost forgot. Isabella wants to know if you can help her at the final dress fitting next Saturday. She said you have good taste for these things. Good taste, but not good enough for my own wedding to deserve investment, the bitter voice in my head commented. What time? At 10. At the boutique downtown, that fancy one. You know it. I knew it. I had passed by once and just looked at the window display, knowing I could never enter a place like that. I know it. I'll go. Great. I say we'll love it. She's so nervous about the wedding, any support helps. Nervous about the dream wedding her parents are fully funding, I thought, but just said, I imagine. See you Saturday, Mom. I hung up and looked at Diego, who was making notes on our secret checklist. Let me guess, he said. More humiliation disguised as generosity? Paper towels and a 200 real cake. He shook his head. 3 more weeks. Just 3 more weeks and it's over. The Saturday of Isabella's dress fitting arrived with a merciless blue sky. I drove to the boutique with a knot in my stomach, mentally preparing myself. The store was exactly as I imagined. All in champagne and white tones, with crystal chandeliers, velvet sofas, and display windows showcasing dresses that looked like works of art. A saleswoman greeted me at the entrance with a professional smile that wavered slightly when assessing my casual clothes. Can I help you? I'm here to meet my sister, Isabella Carvalho. The smile returned, warmer. Oh yes, the bride. She's in the VIP fitting room. This way. Following through the store was like walking through a museum of everything I was denied. I saw the discreet prices on the tags. 8,000, 12,000, 15,000. Each number a stab. Isabella was on an elevated platform, surrounded by mirrors, wearing the dress. And I couldn't deny, she was stunning. All in French lace, with a long train, delicate embroidery, and a cut that made her look like a fairy tale princess. My mother was sitting on the sofa, with a glass of champagne in hand, radiant. Marina, you're here. Look at your sister. Isn't she perfect? She's beautiful, I replied, and it was true. Isabella spun, the dress skirt twirling perfectly. Do you think so? I'm in doubt if the train length is good. The seamstress, kneeling adjusting the hem, looked up. It's perfect, dear. The exact measure for stunning photographs. My mother sighed dramatically. My little girl getting married. I can't believe it. I observed the scene, the three involved in that moment, while I was there as an audience. Isabella hadn't really asked for my opinion. I was just part of the scenery, the convenient sister summoned to validate already made choices. The dress is perfect, I repeated. You'll be the most beautiful bride. She smiled, satisfied. Thank you. And yours, how is it? Have you chosen yet? I hesitated just a second. Still deciding. Limited options, you know how it is. Oh. Her tone carried fake pity. Well, the important thing is you feel pretty. It doesn't need to be anything too. She didn't finish the sentence, but the word hung in the air. Expensive. Elaborate. Special. True. I agreed with a smile that hid everything. I stayed another hour, watching millimetric adjustments, discussions about which veil matched better, debates about the length of the gloves. My mother documented everything on her phone, taking hundreds of photos. None with me. When I finally managed to leave with the excuse of a work commitment, I drove to the farm where my real wedding would be. I needed to see something real after that farce. Mr. Alberto was watering the flowers when I arrived. Marina. What a nice surprise. Hi, Mr. Alberto. I just stopped by to see how it's coming along. He guided me through the space with pride. The field was green and perfect. The small chapel had been cleaned and the windows sparkled. He had even placed pots with wildflowers on the entrance steps. My granddaughter is helping with the decoration, he told me. She studies design. When I told her your story, she insisted on contributing. What story did you tell? I asked, curious. Mr. Alberto smiled, with that wise way of someone who has lived a lot. That you're building your own happiness on your terms. That the family you're born with isn't always the family you choose to celebrate with. He paused. My granddaughter related. She also had to make difficult choices about who to include in her life. I felt tears burning. Thank you for understanding. No need to thank me, girl. Sometimes courage isn't shouting. It's building something new in silence and then showing the world what you're capable of. The following days passed in a blur of final preparations and growing anxiety. With each message from my mother about the fake wedding, my heart raced. With each call from my father confirming backyard details, I had to breathe deeply not to tell everything. Diego noticed my tension increasing. You can still change your mind, he said on Thursday night, 2 days before the wedding. If it's too much, we cancel the plan, do something different. I shook my head. No. I need to do this. Not for revenge, but for me. To prove to myself that I can choose. Then I'm with you, he promised. Until the end. On Friday, 1 day before the wedding, my mother called early in the morning. Marina, I need you to come help set up the backyard this afternoon. Your father pulled his back and can't move the tables alone. My first instinct was to refuse, make up an excuse. But then I realized it would be the last time. The last time I would pretend that I would bend to their wishes, that I would be the convenient Marina. Sure, Mom. What time? After lunch? Around 2 p.m. I'll be there. Diego looked at me as if I had gone crazy. You're going to help set up the fake wedding 1 day before the real one? I confirmed. It's appropriate. One last act of the obedient daughter before she disappears. I went to my parents' house that afternoon. The backyard was chaotic. Stacked folding chairs, crooked tables, the grass full of dry leaves because my father didn't have time to sweep. My mother was stressed, barking orders. Marina, arrange those chairs over there. Isabella was supposed to come help but had an emergency with the bridesmaids' dresses. Of course she did, I thought, but just said, no problem. I spent 3 hours arranging that space. I positioned chairs, spread paper towels, hung the twinkling lights that failed every 5 seconds. With each task, I recorded in memory. This would be my wedding. This is what they thought I deserved. When I finished, my mother observed the result with satisfaction. It's charming. Rustic, but charming. Tomorrow will be beautiful, Marina. I looked at her, at this woman who raised me, fed me, sheltered me, but never really saw me, and felt something definitively disconnect inside me. It will, Mom, I agreed. It'll be unforgettable. I hugged her, my father, even Isabella, who appeared briefly to take a look, and approved the space with condescension. I hugged knowing it would be the last time for a long time, On the way home, I stopped the car at a lookout and finally cried. Not from sadness, but from release. I was saying goodbye, not to the family I had, but to the illusion that someday they would change, see me, prioritize me. Diego was waiting for me when I arrived. He didn't ask how it had been. He just held me. Tomorrow, he whispered. Tomorrow is ours. I slept surprisingly well that night. No nightmares, no anxiety. I woke up with the sun coming through the window and, for the first time in months, felt completely at peace. It was my wedding day. The real one. Laura arrived early with coffee and a motivational speech. Today you marry the love of your life, surrounded by people who truly love you, wearing a stunning dress, and your horrible parents will discover they underestimated the wrong daughter. I laughed, the tension evaporating. When you put it like that, that's exactly how it is. She raised her coffee cup. Today is your glamorous revenge day, friend. Let's rock it. We arrived at the farm at 9 a.m. Renata, the organizer, was already there coordinating the team. The flowers had arrived. Simple, but beautiful. Field arrangements with sunflowers, daisies, and lavender. Mr. Alberto's granddaughter had made wooden arches intertwined with foliage. The chapel was perfect. Simple wooden benches, natural light coming through the windows, and an atmosphere of peace that took your breath away. Renata called me, smiling. You need to see the surprise Mr. Alberto prepared. I followed her to the back of the farm. There was a new flower bed with white roses forming the initials M+D in the center. He planted it last night, Renata told me. He said every wedding needs something that grows along with the couple's love. I almost cried right there, but Laura pulled me. Save the tears for the ceremony. Let's get you ready. The preparation was chaotic and perfect. Laura commanded makeup and hair with surgical precision. Julia appeared with flowers for my hair. Camila, the videographer, recorded everything discreetly. When I put on the dress, the room fell silent. Marina, Laura whispered. I have no words. I looked at myself in the mirror. The dress hugged every curve perfectly. The delicate lace, the backless neckline, the drape of the skirt. Everything conspired to make me feel like an elevated version of myself. I didn't look like a fairy tale princess like Isabella. I looked like something better. I looked like myself at my best. Laura pinned the simple veil in my hair and stepped back. Ready? I took a deep breath, looking at the reflection. That woman in the mirror had gone through years of being invisible, of being convenient, of being the second option. And now she was about to get married on her own terms. Ready? I confirmed. The clock showed 11:30 a.m. In 30 minutes, I would walk to the altar. And 2 hours from now, my parents would be in their backyard, waiting for a bride who would never arrive. The wedding started exactly at noon, with the sound of Lucas's guitar echoing softly through the chapel. Diego was at the altar, handsome in the navy blue suit we chose together, his eyes already shining with tears before I even started walking. I didn't have a father to walk me down. I didn't have a mother adjusting my veil. And for the first time in my life, that didn't make me miss anything. Laura was by my side as maid of honor. Breathe, she whispered. Enjoy every second. The music changed, our song. Can't Help Falling in Love, instrumental version that always made us cry. I took the first step. The walk to the altar was the longest and shortest of my life. I saw every face of the guests, people who had seen me grow, who rooted for me, who were there because they genuinely wanted to be. My boss, who gave me extra time off without questions. My college friends who drove hours to be present. Diego's mother, who was crying copiously and looked at me as if I were her own daughter. When I finally reached the altar and took Diego's hands, he whispered, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Naomi, our officiant, smiled at both of us. We are gathered here. The ceremony was perfect in its simplicity. There was no pomp or elaborate protocol. Just two people committing to each other, with honest words and true tears. When it came time for vows, my voice trembled, but didn't break. Diego, for years I made myself small. I occupied less space, asked for less, expected less. I learned it was safer not to want too much, because wanting meant disappointing myself. But then you appeared and showed me I didn't need to be small to be loved. You saw me when I was invisible to everyone else. You stayed when I didn't even believe I was worth staying for. Today, before all these people we chose, I promise to never make myself small again. I promise to occupy all the space I deserve by your side. I promise to love you with the same intensity with which you taught me to love myself. There wasn't a dry eye in the chapel. Diego wiped his own tears before starting. Marina, you're the bravest person I know. Not with the loud courage of those who shout, but with the silent courage of those who build. You built a life, a career, an identity, all by yourself without the support you deserved. And even so, you never became bitter. You never let them transform you into someone cruel. Today, I'm not saving you from anything, because you never needed to be saved. Today, I'm choosing to be by your side while you continue being the force of nature you've always been. Naomi declared us husband and wife at 12:42 p.m. When we kissed, the world disappeared. There was no painful past or uncertain future. Just that moment, that kiss, that choice. The reception took place in the field next to the chapel. Rustic wooden tables, simple flower arrangements, food trucks exuding delicious aromas. Ambient music played while everyone mingled, talked, laughed. Marcelo, the photographer, was everywhere, capturing moments. "You two are a photographer's dream," he said. "The way you look at each other. Pure magic." Camila was recording everything for the video. And it was at that moment I started thinking about the second part of the plan. The part that even Diego didn't fully know about. While everyone was eating and celebrating, my phone vibrated incessantly on silent. I had left it on airplane mode since the morning, but at 2 p.m., the scheduled time for the fake wedding, I reactivated it just to see. 127 unread messages. I started reading, and each one was more desperate than the last. 1:47 p.m., Marina, where are you? The guests are arriving. 1:52 p.m., Marina, this isn't funny. Call me now. Dead, 2:03 p.m., your mother is having a crisis. Where the hell are you? Isabella's 2:11 p.m., what the hell do you think you're doing? There are people here waiting. 2:23 p.m., Marina, answer this phone. Unknown number, Aunt Clara, 2:35 p.m., dear, is everything okay? Your parents are panicking. 2:47 p.m., if you did something crazy. Marina, I can't believe you would do this to us. I showed Diego, who read with wide eyes. They're freaking out. I know. I took a deep breath. And now comes the best part. I pulled Marcelo and Camila aside. Can you edit a short video? Like 3 minutes? Just the best moments. Marcelo blinked. Now. He and Camila exchanged glances. Then Marcelo smiled. Let's make it happen. Give me an hour. Meanwhile, I enjoyed my wedding. We danced the waltz, cut Laura's beautiful cake, listened to emotional speeches. Diego's mother spoke about how happy she was to have me as a daughter-in-law. Lucas played our song again, just for the two of us. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. An hour later, Marcelo found me. It's ready. Wanna see? He showed me on the laptop. 3 minutes of pure beauty, starting with a drone capturing the farm from above, then close-ups of my dress, Diego at the altar, our walk, the vows with audio. The kiss, the reception, the hugs, everyone's genuine happiness. The emotional soundtrack gave cinematic weight to everything. The last frame froze on the two of us dancing, embraced, with the sunset behind us. Perfect, I whispered. Can you send it to my email? I grabbed my phone and opened Instagram. I hadn't posted there in months. Usually just lurked, watching the perfect updates of Isabella's life. I uploaded the video. The caption took 5 attempts to get right. Today I married the love of my life, surrounded by the people who truly love and support us. To those who said we couldn't have a real wedding, thank you for forcing me to build something better. Thank you for showing me that family isn't who shares your blood, but who chooses to stay when you stop making yourself small. This wasn't the wedding you planned for me. It was infinitely better. 2 hearts. I posted it. I tagged Diego, Laura, Julia, Marcelo, Camila, Renata. I didn't tag any family members, but I didn't block anyone either. I wanted them to see. Diego appeared by my side. Did you post it? I posted it. And now we dance and wait for the apocalypse. The bomb exploded in less than 10 minutes. My phone started ringing incessantly. I put it on silent and just watched the notifications arrive. Comments, direct messages, calls. Laura checked her own Instagram and let out a whistle. Marina, already 500 likes. And the comments. I took her phone to read. Oh my God, what a beautiful wedding. Wait, this was today? Wasn't it in your mom's backyard? You did a fake wedding? Legend. This dress, any dress I've ever seen. The energy of this wedding is everything I want in life. Whoever said you couldn't have a real wedding deserves a Worst Person of the Year award. But the comments that made me smile were from people who knew my family. Marina, your dress is 1000x more beautiful than Isabella's, and I said what I said. People. Her family was waiting in the backyard. Best plot twist of 2024. I watched the view counter climb. 1,000, 2,000. 5,000. My mother called for the 15th time. This time I answered. Marina. Hi, Mom. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut. Where are you? Each word came out separately, trembling with fury. At my wedding. We are at your wedding. Or we should be. There are 40 people here in the backyard waiting, Marina. 40 people you invited and abandoned. I didn't invite anyone to the backyard, Mom. You invited them. I just let you believe I would participate in this farce. I heard her huff, incredulous. Farce? Farce? We offered our home, our space. While you spent over 150,000 reis on Isabella's wedding, I completed calmly. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I would accept paper towels and a 200 real cake while the little princess gets a honeymoon in Italy? Silence. I saw the contracts, Mom. Saw every receipt. Photographed everything. You invaded our privacy. I laughed, without humor. Privacy? You made me feel greedy for wanting a photographer. You convinced me that asking for more than the basics was being selfish. And all along you were financing a wedding worthy of royalty for her. The situations are different. They are. Because you love her and just tolerate me. I heard my mother choke. My father grabbed the phone. Marina, you're being dramatic. You've always been dramatic. We offered what we could. Lie. You offered what you thought I deserved. Which was nothing. You embarrassed us, he shouted. There are people here who traveled to attend your wedding. What are we going to tell them? Tell them the truth. That you planned a humiliating wedding for the daughter you always treated as a second option, and she decided she deserved more. Marina, don't call me anymore. Don't show up at my house. Don't try to fix this. It's over. You can't. I can. I already did. Enjoy the backyard. The lights look lovely. I hung up and blocked the number. Diego was by my side. Are you okay? I'm great. And it was true. I felt light. Free. The video went viral overnight. When I woke up the next morning at a charming inn Diego reserved as a surprise, the video had 250,000 views. My inbox had exploded. But the most important message came from a private number. Marina, I'm Andrea, producer of the show Real Stories. We would love to have you to talk about your experience with family favoritism and how you reclaimed your own day. Are you interested? I didn't respond immediately. I was busy being happy with my husband. During the following days, more messages arrived. Wedding blogs asking for interviews. YouTube channels wanting to make videos about the bride who deceived her toxic family. Even some sensationalist tabloids offering money for the complete story. I ignored most. But I responded to one, a blogger named Renata Alves, who wrote about dysfunctional family relationships and healing. We scheduled a video call. Renata was warm, empathetic, and clearly had her own experiences with toxic family. Marina, your story resonated with thousands of people, she said. Many people see themselves in you, the forgotten daughter, the child who always had to settle for less. What do you want people to know? I thought carefully. That you don't have to accept crumbs just because they come from family. That there's a difference between honoring your parents and destroying yourself to keep them comfortable. And that when you finally choose yourself, some people will say you're selfish. Let them say it. You deserve more than the basics. The interview was published and shared thousands of times. Isabella sent me a message 3 weeks later. I hadn't blocked her, partially because I forgot, partially because I was curious. You destroyed our family. I looked at the message for a long time before responding. No, I say. I just stopped pretending the destruction didn't exist. You made the choices. I just finally reacted to them. Mom is in therapy because of you. She cries every day. I'm sad to hear that. Really. But it's not my responsibility to manage her emotions about the consequences of her own actions. You've always been so cold. So resentful. No. I was invisible. And when I finally became visible on my own terms, you couldn't handle it. My wedding was ruined because of your drama. Everyone only talks about what you did. And there it was. The real reason for the message. It wasn't about family. It was about Isabella no longer being the center of attention. Your wedding was beautiful. I saw the photos. You had everything you always wanted. The expensive dress, the extravagant party, the proud parents. The fact that people are talking about my situation doesn't take anything away from that. Unless you always knew it was unfair and now you feel guilty. She never responded. My parents tried to contact me several times in the following months. Letters, which I returned unopened. Messages via relatives, which I politely declined. Once my mother showed up at my work, but security prevented her from going up. The letter I finally read came 6 months after the wedding. It was from my paternal grandmother, a woman who had always been kind to me, but who never questioned the family dynamic. Dear Marina, I'm not writing to take sides. I'm too old to pretend I don't see what's always been in front of me. Your grandfather, God rest him, did the same thing with his children. He favored the youngest, neglected the oldest. Your father grew up trying to prove his worth, never succeeding. I swore he wouldn't repeat the pattern with his own children. But patterns are hard to break, especially when we don't recognize they exist. I'm not asking you to forgive, but I ask that you know, what they did wasn't about your worth. It never was. It was about their own unhealed wounds, leaking onto you. You broke the cycle. For that I'm proud. With love, Grandma Rosa. I cried reading it. It didn't change anything, but it explained some things. 1 year after the wedding, I received an unexpected message. It was from a 19-year-old girl named Amanda. She had seen my video and the interview with Renata Alves. Marina, I know you don't know me, but your story saved me. I'm also the easy daughter in my family. My sister gets everything, and I'm always forgotten. I was planning to go to the college my parents wanted, close to home, cheap, convenient for them, instead of the one where I got a full scholarship on the other side of the country. But after seeing your story, I realized I don't have to be convenient. I can choose myself. I declined the college here. I'm moving in 2 weeks. My parents are furious, but for the first time in my life, I'm happy. Thank you for showing me it's possible. I responded immediately, encouraging her. And I realized my story wasn't just about me. It was about all the forgotten daughters, all the convenient children, all the people who learned to occupy less space so as not to bother anyone. Diego and I have been married for 2 years now. We bought a small but cozy house. We have a dog named Pixel. Our walls are full of photos from that magical day at the farm. I don't speak to my parents. I don't speak to Isabella. Some relatives took their side. Others silently support me but don't publicly position themselves. That's okay. I built my own family, Diego, Laura, our friends, colleagues who became chosen siblings. Sometimes it still hurts. Sometimes I see photos of family gatherings, that well-meaning cousins post, and feel a pang. Not nostalgia exactly, but grief. Grief for the family I never had, for the version of my parents that only existed in my imagination. But then I look at my life, our house full of laughter, dinners with friends, the trips we take, the peace I feel waking up every day, and I know I made the right choice. Last month, Mr. Alberto invited us back to the farm. The roses he planted at our wedding had grown, forming a beautiful garden. Just like you two, he said, smiling. You planted something new and let it grow. Epilogue. 3 years after the wedding, I received a registered letter. It was from a lawyer representing my mother. For a scary moment, I thought they were suing me. But when I opened it, I found something different. It was a letter from my mother, mediated by her therapist. Marina, I don't expect a response. I don't expect forgiveness. But my therapist says I must take complete responsibility, without excuses. You were right. About everything. I failed you. Repeatedly. Systematically. It wasn't distraction or circumstance. They were conscious choices to prioritize your sister, because it was easier to meet her demands than to recognize your independence as strength, not as convenience. I told myself you didn't need the same because you were stronger. But the truth is I made you stronger through neglect, and then used that forced strength as an excuse to continue neglecting. I can't undo the years. I can't give back what I took. But I can say you deserved more. You always deserved more. And I deeply regret making you doubt that. If you ever choose to talk, I'll be here. But I understand if you don't choose to. With remorse and responsibility. Mom. I read it 3 times. I looked for disguised excuses, emotional manipulation, attempts to minimize. I didn't find any. It was just raw responsibility. Finally, I showed Diego. What do you think? I think it took her 3 years to write what she should have said when you were 10 years old, he responded honestly. But I also think it's more than many people manage. What do you want to do? I don't know yet. I put the letter in a drawer. Maybe one day I'll respond. Maybe not. The difference now is that it's my choice, without guilt, without pressure. Last week, a young woman stopped me on the street. She recognized my face from old wedding photos that still occasionally circulate in unconventional weddings compilations. You're Marina from the farm wedding? She asked, shyly. I am. I just wanted to say thank you. My family is also complicated. Seeing your story gave me courage to set boundaries. My life changed. She moved on before I could respond. But I stood there in the middle of the sidewalk, letting those words sink in. My revenge wasn't the secret wedding, although it was satisfying. It wasn't the viralization, although it validated years of ignored feelings. My revenge was the life I built afterward. The peace I found. The people I helped simply by having the courage to say, I deserve more. When I got home that night, Diego was cooking, Pixel was destroying a toy, and our small house smelled like garlic and happiness. How was your day? He asked, kissing me. Perfect, I replied. And this time when I said it, I wasn't pretending. Because the truth is this, the best revenge against people who tried to make you small isn't proving they were wrong. It's building a life so full, so genuine, so completely yours, that their opinion simply stops mattering. And when you look back and see only indifference where there used to be pain, that's the moment you truly won. Did my wedding destroy my family? No. It just revealed that the destruction was already there, hidden under years of me making myself small enough to fit in the spaces they gave me. Today I occupy all the space I deserve. And it's glorious. If this story touched you in any way, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories of overcoming injustice. Your comments and support make all the difference for other people who might be going through similar situations. Until the next story.